believe that you're a cheater, and I believe that you
needs these guys. Jake needs Tyson and needs all these other people, because everybody's going to tune in to hope that Mike Tyson knocks him out.
Right.
They're not tuning in because they think Jake Paul's a great fighter and they want to see him compete.
Dana White dismissed the idea of a Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul boxing match, and it's hard to argue. Jake Paul's approach has never been about true boxing grit, blood, sweat, and bruises. His strategy has always been to rake in fame and cash, not by knockout punches, but through YouTube content gold. Tyson promo videos, over-the-top face-offs, and dramatic hype clips weren't just extras. They were the main event. Paul knows how to ride the hype train to the bank, proving the saying, once a YouTuber, always a YouTuber. Dana White's critique hits the mark. Paul's game isn't boxing, it's business. Dana White ripped into Jake Paul, branding him a fame-chasing fraud in classic no-nonsense style. His takedown felt like a courtroom drama, listing so many alleged shady dealings that even I found more reasons to dislike Jake than expected. Dana didn't stop at insults. He accused Jake of juicing on steroids and dismissed his boxing career as nothing more than a string of gimmicky matchups. While I've got love for Jake, it's hard to ignore the brutal truth Dana laid out, exposing Jake as a controversial figure in fight sports. Before anyone dismisses Dana White's words, remember this is the man who transformed the UFC from a backyard brawl into a global multi-billion-dollar empire. His fight game expertise isn't up for debate. When Dana speaks, even the loudest skeptics have to listen. But his fury toward Jake Paul isn't just personal. It's deeper, like a "you've disgraced the sport I built" level of rage. He sees Jake manipulating boxing, turning it into a cheap spectacle for clicks and cash, a mockery of what combat sports should represent.
stupid. And for those of you that don't know, if you've ever watched one of his fights and you see when they do the stare down, the guy that's standing in the middle with the warlock nose and the big warlock wart on his face, apparently that's his manager. And that guy used to be an accountant for me. And let's just say this, he no longer works for me, and I think he's a scumbag.
Dana doesn't stop there. He twists the knife further by setting his sights on Jake's manager, sarcastically dubbing him the Warlock. According to Dana, this guy used to be an accountant for the UFC but couldn't hack it. Now he's downgraded to being Jake Paul's errand boy, running around trying to stay relevant by clinging to Jake's social media circus. Dana paints the Warlock as a cautionary tale, a fallen figure of respectability now tangled in a spectacle of gimmicks and clicks. The entire rant drips with mockery, with Dana ensuring everyone knows just how far Jake and his crew have fallen in the world of real fight sports. The trash talk doesn't stop there. Dana White ups the ante in a way only a fight promoter can. He throws down a bold challenge to Jake Paul that goes beyond words. A steroid testing showdown. Dana openly claims Jake's bulging biceps aren't from hard work and protein shakes and demands random drug tests to prove it. To make his point, Dana even proposes a wild deal. He'll undergo random cocaine testing for 10 years, all to prove he's clean. 10 years. The steroid versus cocaine drama has blown up into a spectacle bigger than some actual fights. It's a media frenzy, with headlines splashed everywhere and social media in overdrive. Suddenly, the Tyson versus Jake Paul matchup isn't just about who gets KO'd in the ring. It's about swirling controversy, flying accusations, and clashing egos. Dana's challenge isn't just fiery trash talk, it's a battle cry, daring Jake to prove he's more than hype and hot air. This is no longer just a fight, it's a full-blown war of credibility. Steroid accusations have made this showdown even more explosive, and Jake Paul is leaning into the drama as only he can. Never one to back down, he's doubling down on his fighter pay crusade, portraying himself as the Robin Hood of combat sports. The YouTuber turned boxer, known for pranks and chaos, now claims to champion underpaid MMA fighters. He rattles off attention-grabbing numbers. 600,000. That's what he says top-tier UFC heavyweights earn on average. Then comes the jaw-dropper. $30 million, the payday he claims heavyweight boxing champs rake in. According to Jake, it's a glaring injustice. Love him or hate him, he's turned the debate into a headline-grabbing spectacle, making himself a central figure in the fight sports controversy.
You think that you can do it better than we do. We're doing this whole thing wrong. You could treat the fighters better than we do. Knock yourself out. Go start your own business. It's easy to do. Get the Warlock on it. The Warlock can get it started for you. What you and the Warlock should be focused on is your business.
Jake Paul naturally positions himself as the hero brave enough to call out fighter pay injustice. But Dana White isn't buying it. In fact, he's coming in with sarcasm so sharp it cuts. Dana openly mocks Jake's supposed understanding of fighter pay and the business behind it. The idea of a YouTuber lecturing the man who built the UFC into a global powerhouse is almost comical. Dana doesn't hold back, telling Jake that if he's so clever, he should quit whining and start his own MMA organization. To twist the knife, Dana throws down a sarcastic challenge, saying it's easy to do in that eye-roll tone that says otherwise. It's a direct dare, essentially telling Jake to put his millions where his mouth is, or quit the charade. This isn't just playground banter. It's a clash of two vastly different worlds. On one side, you have Dana White, the mastermind who built the UFC into the gold standard of mixed martial arts, working with legends like Khabib Nurmagomedov, who retired undefeated and untouchable. On the other side, there's Jake Paul, whose combat sports career is essentially a string of viral marketing stunts against retired, often smaller MMA fighters. Jake wants to paint Dana as a greedy tycoon profiting off the sacrifices of underpaid athletes. But Dana sees through the act, calling Jake a self-serving fraud who only pretends to care about fighter welfare when it benefits his brand. And Jake's so-called crusade for fighter pay? It's laughable when you look at his own fight lineup. He's made millions boxing retired fighters like Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren, athletes past their prime and significantly smaller than Jake. All the while, Jake keeps pushing his narrative, cashing in on controversies and turning every bout into a spectacle more about profits than principles. Jake Paul loves bragging about his earnings, acting as if that makes him a champion of justice. Dana White finds it laughable. And let's be real, it does come off as hypocritical. If Jake genuinely wanted to make a difference in fighter pay, he'd be doing more than just talking. And then there's the question of whether Jake can even be considered a serious boxer at this point. Now, with the added circus of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, things get even messier. Mike Tyson is a living legend, no doubt, but he's pushing 60. He's far from the unstoppable force who could knock a man out in seconds. Yet here he is, preparing to face Jake Paul, a guy nearly 3 decades younger. The age gap is almost insulting, and critics like Bernard Hopkins aren't holding back. Hopkins, who knows a thing or two about boxing longevity, has called out the absurdity of the matchup, saying Jake and Tyson shouldn't even be mentioned in the same breath. Still, for all the criticism, people can't resist the spectacle. The idea of a 58-year-old Tyson landing one of his legendary punches on Jake Paul? It's like a train wreck. You just can't look away. This matchup is the stuff of viral dreams, and everyone has an opinion. Former UFC fighter Brendan Schaub breaks it down. If Jake Paul knocks out Mike Tyson, people will label him a bully for beating up a near 60-year-old. If Tyson knocks out Jake, it's game over for Jake's boxing credibility. And the worst-case scenario? A dull decision win that leaves everyone, including Netflix, regretting their investment. Jake's preparation is turning heads. He's bulked up, moved to heavyweight, and is trying to present himself as a serious contender. But critics, led by Dana White, remain unimpressed. Dana argues Jake's game is rigged, always targeting retired or undersized opponents. Even with his muscle gains and Instagram-worthy workouts, questions linger. Can Jake really handle Tyson, even an older version of him? Or is this just another chapter in Jake's relentless quest to stay relevant and keep the cash flowing? Ultimately, this fight isn't just about fists. It's about respect. Jake Paul is trying to position himself as a crusader for fighter rights, but his actions tell a different story. Dana White isn't letting the contradiction slide, calling out Jake as someone more concerned with his brand than the sport he claims to defend. This saga is a war of words, egos, and reputations, a spectacle the world can't look away from.